The message arrived the moment I thought my life had finally stopped spinning. I was sitting on a borrowed towel in Hawaii, sunscreen still warming on my shoulders, when my phone vibrated with a single line that ended my career. Effective immediately, Hazel, you're released due to staff cuts. No call, no explanation, just a sentence that landed harder than any wave on the shore behind me. My daughter, Leela, shouted for me to watch her jump a line of foam. My sister, Nora, asked if I wanted something cold to drink. I forced a nod, swallowing the sting in my throat. Years at a Portland startup. And this was how Levi chose to speak to me. Not even a voice. Not even my name typed with intention. I opened the message again, making sure I had read it correctly. Then I exhaled and unlocked my cloud folder. The one I kept out of habit, out of survival. Really? I scrolled to my contract, pulled up clause 135, and read the sentence I had fought to keep: termination, without cause triggers, immediate and automatic revocation of all rights to the Hazel Sync engine. My engine. The backbone of a $150 million app. The only reason the company had survived long enough for Levi to hire his friends and call himself a visionary. Nora stepped closer. Hazel, is something wrong? Nothing I didn't expect, I murmured, and lifted the phone to take a clean screenshot of the clause. My hands were steady, calmer than they should have been. I opened a new email. No subject, no text, no greeting. I attached the screenshot and entered Levi's address. Then I hit send. For a moment, the world was quiet enough for me to hear Lila laughing. Then my phone exploded with calls. First one, then another, then a relentless stream that made the device rattle against my palm. I pressed it face down on the towel and breathed. He never read it, I whispered. The story you are about to hear is a fictional work created by the writing team at Revengeaita. It draws inspiration from the injustices many women face in the workplace: disrespect, favoritism, and age bias against midlife professionals. We tell this story to highlight the journey of a woman who rises, reclaims her worth, and refuses to let anyone define her value. This narrative is meant to inspire, heal, and remind you that self-respect is never something you ask permission for. All characters and events are purely illustrative. I stood, brushing sand from my legs, listening to the phone vibrate again and again behind me. Chapter 2 would begin soon enough, and Portland would feel the consequences before I even packed to go home. I stepped out onto the balcony of the rental house, leaving the noise of my family behind me. Hawaii felt too gentle for the memories clawing their way back. But they came anyway every late night, every meeting where I pretended my chest wasn't tightening from being talked over. I remembered my first month in Portland, when the startup still met in a converted warehouse with cold floors and bad insulation. The city buzzed with new tech money, but our office felt like a remnant of old industry, all echoes and metal. Levi stood in front of a whiteboard one morning and announced, "We just need faster sync, something clean, something magical," I had said. "Then we have to build it ourselves. Nothing out there handles regional latency." He blinked at me like I had spoken too loudly. "Great, you take that. Everyone else will focus on pitch materials." Everyone else meant his friends from college. They cheered. I went home with a laptop and 6 weeks of sleepless nights ahead of me. I spent those nights working alone at my kitchen table. My neighbor would hear my chair scrape at dawn and knock on the wall to tell me to get some sleep. I never did. The engine needed precision, and in quieter moments, I needed to prove I could build something no one else bothered to understand. When the investors finally noticed user retention climbing, Levi clapped my shoulder. "Hazel, this is good. Maybe not flashy, but solid. Solid enough to function as licensed software," I told him, under my name. He laughed. "Why complicate things because I want protection?" I said, "if anything goes wrong." Clause 135 was drafted that afternoon. Legal tried to trim it, but I refused. I had already given too much. Standing on the balcony now, listening to distant waves, I understood something sharp and quiet. The firing hadn't surprised me. The forgetting had, behind me. My phone buzzed again from where I had left it inside. Their panic was only beginning. Mine had ended years ago. The calls kept coming before the sun climbed past mid-morning. First Levi, then the chief technology officer. Then a number I recognized from the legal department. The vibrations rolled across the fabric of my beach bag like a trapped insect, insistent and nervous. I did not reach for it. I reapplied sunscreen to my shoulders and opened my contract again. The same document I had stared at the night clause 135 was created. I remembered the meeting clearly. Legal had pushed a stack of edits toward me and smiled like they were doing me a favor. "This clause is unnecessary," the attorney said. "It complicates ownership. It protects ownership," I replied. Levi had waved a hand. "Hazel, no one here would fire you without cause. We are a team." I remembered the way I folded the contract back to my side. Then keeping the clause won't hurt anyone. Now, years later. The clause was glowing on my screen like a quiet prophecy fulfilled. My phone rattled again. Nora stepped beside my towel and frowned. "Still your work, people. They will keep trying," I said. "Do you want to talk to them?" "No." I slid the phone deeper into the bag. Talking ended the moment they blamed this on staff cuts. Somewhere on the mainland, the first cracks were forming. Delayed sync reports. Notifications stacking on top of each other like ghosts. Payments triggering twice before dying mid-transaction. The kind of errors that only appeared when the engine withdrew its signature. I closed my eyes and let the warmth settle into my skin. A soft chime broke through the calm. Not a call this time, an email. I checked the sender and felt something shift. It was from Ben, a junior developer I had mentored through his first production bug. "Hazel, something weird is happening to the engine. Are you okay?" I read it twice, feeling the smallest weight settle in my chest before I pressed the screen dark again. The storm was already building, but no one had yet admitted who lit the fuse. By the time the sun reached its peak in Hawaii, Portland had already tipped into chaos. I heard none of it directly, but the fragments reached me later through messages, screenshots, and the strained tone in every voicemail I refused to answer. Inside headquarters. The first Slack alert hit just after 8:30, sync queue stalling. Anyone else seeing this a minute later? Another delayed purchase confirmations. Refund loop triggered. Then a flood of red banners filled every engineer's screen. In a conference room, Levi paced in front of a monitor. "Why is this happening? Someone talk to me." A DevOps engineer, Marcus, the only one who ever asked real questions, rubbed his forehead. "We checked every deployment. Everything points back to a license failure." He hesitated. "Could this be the Hazel sync clause?" Levi shot him a glare. "No. That clause was hypothetical. Someone from legal slid into the room with a printed file. It was not hypothetical." She flipped pages with growing urgency until she hit the final section. Her voice dropped. "Clause 135. You fired her without cause this morning." Levi stiffened. "We agreed on staff cuts. That counts." "No, it absolutely does not," she snapped. "You triggered immediate revocation." She looked up, disbelief turning sharp. "You did this." Investors began calling within minutes. A major enterprise client demanded a written explanation before noon or threatened litigation. Customer service could no longer keep up with complaints from users spinning in error loops. Someone forwarded around the blank email I had sent my silent message until it reached every department like a warning from a ghost. Then the mini twist landed. A screenshot of clause 135 appeared on Reddit, posted anonymously. The caption read, "Did they seriously fire the person who built the engine?" As speculation spread across the internet, Levi barked orders, pointing fingers at code he had never read and a system he never understood. The darkness was entirely his, but he refused to see it. By midday, the calls had doubled, maybe tripled. Levi's number appeared so often it looked like a looping error. I let the phone buzz against the wooden table, each vibration dull and frantic. Nora walked over with a towel draped around her neck and studied my face. "Hazel," she said softly. "Do you want to tell me what's going on?" I set my sunglasses aside. They finally tripped the wire. Her eyebrows lifted, not in confusion but in quiet recognition. She had seen too many nights when I stumbled into her guest room after another late shift, fingers shaking from caffeine and frustration. "Are they panicking?" she asked. "Oh, yes," I said, thoroughly. The phone buzzed again. I didn't move. Outside, Lila shouted something about finding a perfect seashell. Nora gently placed a hand on my shoulder. "You're allowed to breathe. You know, I am breathing," I replied, "more than I have in years." While Hawaii moved with steady ease, Portland was unraveling. My muted notifications kept piling. Screenshots from friends trickled in. One image showed a trending post. Did Levi really fire the only engineer who understood the backbone of the app? Another comment thread accused the company of negligence, arrogance, and everything in between. Nora tapped the phone with one finger. Are you going to check any of those? No. I pushed it slightly away. Silence is the last thing they expected from me. A new chime sounded an email this time. I glanced at the preview, a reporter asking if I wanted to share insight off the record. I opened it long enough to read the first line, then deleted it. Nora watched me. You're sure this is what you want? Yes, I said. This is exactly what I want. The ocean moved in slow, steady breaths below us, and for the first time in too long, I matched its pace. I didn't run toward the collapsing company or away from it. I simply let the distance settle, firm and unquestioned. My phone buzzed once more, a desperate pulse from a world I no longer served. By late afternoon, the tone of the messages shifted. Levi's calls kept coming, but new voices joined the chorus. The first was from HR, a woman named Dana, who had once told me my quiet nature made collaboration difficult, sent a cheerful email filled with soft words and hollow concern. Hi Hazel, just circling back to check in. We value your contributions and would love to reconnect when you have a moment to talk. I laughed before I could stop myself. Next came a voicemail from the Chief Technology Officer. His voice strained for composure. Hazel. Hey. Just hoping we can touch base. Nothing urgent. Well, actually, extremely urgent. But no pressure. Call me. Then a message from legal arrived. Blunt and nearly frantic, requesting immediate discussion regarding license arrangements. Please respond at your earliest convenience. I closed them all. Nora sat beside me on the bed while I scrolled through the flood. They sound scared, she said. They are. I set the phone down. They should be. You really built something they can't fix without you. I did, I said. And they knew it. They just never believed they would need me this much. Memories flickered, Levi taking credit for an idea I had defended in a meeting. A product manager telling me I should speak with more charisma. A performance review describing me as technically strong, but not team visible. Every dismissal landed again, not as hurt, but clarity. I opened a new message to Levi and typed slowly. Letting each word settle, my consulting rate begins at $15,000 per hour. 6-hour minimum, prepaid. I pressed send. 10 minutes later, he called. I let it ring. 30 minutes passed, then an hour. Finally, a new voicemail appeared. Levi's voice stripped of authority. Please, Hazel. I did not know what Clause 135 meant. Just help me. I am begging you. I listened once, then deleted it, leaving his desperation unanswered. That evening, the light outside softened, and the sounds of my family drifted in through the open door. Lila begged Nora to help her braid shells into her hair. Their laughter rose and fell like something I had forgotten how to hear. I sat at the edge of the bed, phone in my hands, staring at Levi's last voicemail until it timed out and disappeared. Nora leaned against the doorframe. You look lighter, she said. I should feel worse. I admitted. I thought losing that job would break me. Maybe it already did, she said gently. A long time ago. I breathed in, slow. I do not want it back. Any of it. She sat beside me. And helping him, I do not want that either. The words surprised me in their certainty. He would only go back to treating me like a tool. I spent too many years letting them shape my value. My phone vibrated again, but for once, it was not Levi. It was an old colleague, Mara, the database specialist who had been pushed out after raising concerns Levi did not want to hear. Her message read, If you start something new, we miss working with someone who listens. Another message followed, this time from Rowan, one of the best infrastructure engineers I had ever met. We heard what happened. Say the word, Hazel. Nora saw my expression shift. Good news. Unexpected, I said. But good. The fatigue that had lived behind my ribs for years eased, replaced by something warmer, steadier. The thought of building something new did not scare me. It steadied me. I placed the phone face down on the bed. Levi would keep calling, but I was moving in a different direction now. By the next morning, my phone filled with messages I had not asked for but had expected. Investors, regulators, even a few former board members, all forwarding the same announcement: a full audit had been initiated. Clause 135 sat at the center of everything, printed in bold on every document they reviewed. Nora handed me a cup of tea. More calls, more consequences. I said. A forwarded voicemail played automatically when I opened my inbox. It was Levi arguing with someone in the background. It was a random outage, he insisted. A glitch. Tell them it was a glitch. A calmer voice, someone from infrastructure, replied. The logs show the license revocation sequence. You cannot lie about this. I paused the message. That single line had more honesty than anything I had heard from Levi in 5 years. Another notification arrived, this time from an old coworker. Mara, she wrote. They suspended him pending review. You should see the Slack leaks. She attached screenshots from internal channels, jokes about my low charisma, comments dismissing my engine as useful but not special, and one message from Levi himself bragging that he could replace Hazel any day. Nora glanced at my tightening grip on the phone. Does that bother you? No, I said, surprising myself. Not anymore. A final notification lit up the screen. It was a formal statement from the board. Levi had been placed on temporary administrative leave, pending further investigation into negligence, breach of duty, and misrepresentation to investors. I set the phone down on the table. The tea warmed my hands. I felt no rush of triumph. No spike of vindication, only a steady, grounded clarity. The truth had finally grown louder than Levi's spin. The call came from an unfamiliar Portland number. I almost let it ring out, but something in the rhythm of the vibration pulled my thumb to the screen. I answered without speaking. A shaky breath filled the line. Then Levi's voice, stripped of confidence. Hazel, it is me. Please do not hang up. I sat on the edge of the bed, letting the silence stretch. I know you saw the audit notice, he continued. They are saying I acted negligently. They think I hid things. I did not hide anything. I did not read the entire contract. His voice cracked. I did not read clause 135. Nora glanced in from the doorway, but I lifted a hand. I needed to hear this. Levi tried again. I should have listened to you. You always understood the system. You built the structure the rest of us depended on. I was arrogant and lazy. I thought if I repeated enough buzzwords, the architecture would take care of itself. He inhaled sharply. Hazel, we can fix this together. I can reinstate you. Or we can form a partnership. A fresh start, please. I closed my eyes and let his words fall away. All I could see was Portland's endless rain, the nights I spent debugging while he rehearsed pitches. The morning I arrived early, only to find my work credited to someone else. I thought of the engine, the one piece of my life he never cared to understand. My voice was steady when it came. The protocol was never yours. If you need a sync engine, the public version is available. That is all. Hazel, I ended the call. I blocked the number. It felt neither cruel nor triumphant, just necessary. The past had finally run out of space in my life. I returned to Portland with a different kind of weight, lighter, steadier, no longer tied to the company I had given too many years to. The rain greeted me the way it always had, soft and persistent. I did not walk back into Levi's office. I walked into a small rented workspace on the east side, where the lights hummed low and the walls still smelled faintly of new paint. Mara arrived first, dropping her backpack on the floor. You really meant it, she said. We are actually doing this. Rowan followed, shaking off his umbrella. I have not felt excited about work in years. Tell us where to start. I opened my laptop. We build what they refuse to understand. Clean systems, honest architecture, no hidden clauses, no exploitation. Mara nodded. Something people can trust. We spent days sketching the core of a new engine, modular, transparent, and resilient. The kind of structure Levi would never have approved because it required real accountability. I watched the pieces take shape, each decision rooted not in fear but in tension. 1 week later, while I was testing a data pipeline with Rowan, my phone buzzed with a news alert. Levi's name appeared in the headline. I read it quietly. He had been permanently removed from executive eligibility after the audit confirmed negligence and breach of operational duty. He would never again lead any organization handling user data. Rowan looked over. Are you okay? Yes, I said. Closing the notification. This belongs to him, not to me. We launched our first client integration that afternoon. The moment the system synced, smooth, precise, unwavering, I felt something settle in my chest, a final piece clicking into place. The freedom was real this time, not borrowed or conditional. I watched the stream stabilize and whispered, "Actions expire just like licenses." His timed out. Mine finally began. A quiet truth followed me out of the room. The life you build for yourself will always outlast the one others try to build around you.